Hi everyone, welcome back. Chitra here. In this video, we will be planting some fruit trees, salads. Then we will also be preparing a new strawberry bed, working on our herb garden and planting some more stuff. We'll also be earthing the potatoes which have grown to a certain height. This year, we decided to plant a few more fruit trees in our garden. We got apple, pears, a few more berry bushes, and even some plums. Originally, this plot also had apple trees and plum trees and even blackberry bushes along the fence. While constructing, the builders cut down some of these fruit trees. Unfortunately, the fruit trees and not the jungle part of it. We even had a walnut tree. The walnut tree was a little sick, so we had to cut it down. And moreover, when you have a walnut tree, nothing around that area grows because this is emitting a kind of acid which prevents the other plants from thriving. This was one reason, and on top of it the tree was sick, so it was worthwhile to cut that down, and we can still see a small stub of it very close to the creek. In our garden as of now, we do have a couple of fruit trees. In the front yard we have the pawpaw and apricots. It's called mirelle. It's not really an apricot, it is in between an apricot and a peach. And then we have the Sharon fruit in the backyard, and we also have some berry bushes, like we have the red currants, then we have the aronia berries. Then we also have the elderberry bushes and the blueberry bushes. Here you see him planting the apple trees. We planted just one tree which already had some flowers, and the advice the gardener gave was to plant it close to some other apple tree so they can pollinate. Our neighbor has also an apple tree. A couple of our neighbors also planted apple trees, and so we take advantage of that and plant it kind of close to them. It shouldn't be very close to them because we don't want to have any conflict, so we plant it quite far away, but at the same time it is not too far away for the bees to pollinate and cross-pollinate. He will have to rewire these wires, which are the ones which are guiding the lawnmower in our garden. So first he will plant the tree and then rewire. The garden has undergone a big transformation since I last posted the video. I intended to post this video a couple of weeks back, but there were so many new projects coming up in the house and out in the garden. We did a full office room makeover and also a laundry room makeover. Of course, we didn't spend too much. We rearranged things and got rid of things, and right now it was the time to change this. Spring is always nice to change things around, and I'm happy with the way things have turned out. We did it very budget friendly. I will try to post that video too. I didn't film all of it, especially in the office room. This was a big mess and it took us almost a week to fix everything up here, and the laundry room was the same. I usually collect a lot of clips during the weeks and then try to post them. There were a lot of clips in this particular video and I was kind of postponing, but it's time to keep you updated on this garden because there's so much more happening after this. This was all filmed between mid of April till end of April. I will try to be a little bit more regular in posting.
It's now compost. Mix everything. Organic compost. Mix it.
Before planting any plant or tree, it's good to move the roots a little bit and free them up so they can easily bury themselves further into the ground. And that is what you see him doing. After that, we will also be covering the soil with wood chips so that the water is retained in the ground and it doesn't dry up when it is getting much more hotter. These wires are to mark the borders for the robot. It's not supposed to go after this wire, but you will see it has its own mind. So we will have to properly rewire this again so it doesn't go and bang the tree. The tree is still quite young and it needs all the help it can get to grow and root itself further down. We don't want the robot knocking this over. These two bushes are blueberries. We replanted it from the other location, which was close to the lawn, to this location because this has much more moisture and because it's closer to the creek. The problem with the old location was it was getting very dry, it was closer to the slope, and the water was all draining out very quickly. So we planted this sometime in autumn and it has survived. And in this close marshy areas also a lot of wild garlic, but I collected the wild garlic from the woods and made pesto. I've shared that video too, and it's one of the tastiest pestos. This is the other side of the creek, and close by is also the elderberry bushes. There's a lot of wilderness in this area anyway. We cannot really garden anything much in that area. This is our cherry tree, and this year it has bloomed really well, a lot more flowers than the previous years, but let's see how many fruits we will get out of it. We were lucky, we could somehow escape the frost. Many of the trees did get frozen, but ours survived because they were a little bit late in budding and flowering. Here you see my husband fixing the roof of our tomato greenhouse. We decided to go in for a permanent structure, but only for the roof as of now. And next year we will also fix the sides with the same fiberglass. This was also a budget-friendly option. The other one we can do it anyway at some other time. This was very urgent because we had a lot of tomatoes which had germinated and they needed the space here. On these patches we planted a few of the vegetables like kohlrabi, some spinach. This bush over here is the red currant bush. They are full of flowers. Every year they have been tripling in the amount it is yielding, and I have already shared a couple of recipes with the red currant berries. I'm planning to put a new recipe out this year. I hope I have the time to make it and film it or write it in my blog. We moved the strawberry bed, and the old bed was finished. We couldn't revive it anymore since it was already 4 years old, and if we want strawberries we'll have to plant new ones. They don't last more than 4 years, so we are planting them this year in this raised bed. We have a little bit problem with the slugs, and they jump across the neighbor's plot to come onto the bed. I already saw a couple of slugs close by. After this, we will be covering the strawberry bed with straw. This wooden raised bed is where we have our herb garden. We had a few herbs last year like oregano, rosemary, and a couple of years back we even had sage. Sage was very invasive, it didn't let the other herbs thrive. So at one point we took it out and tried to plant it closer to the creek, but it didn't survive. So this year we will be planting the sage in a smaller pot. We didn't plant this rucola since the first year, but since the seed have been pollinated and they fall into it over here, they grow on their own. And this here I think is oregano and rosemary is on the other side. We also have some other herbs like chives in a smaller grey pot beside this bed. Here we will be planting sage in the small pot. This year we could also get some summer flowers which we planted in the front yard, because usually we forget to plant the flowers, but flowers are very essential for garden to attract the bees. In one of our garden sheds we also have a beehive. We will have to check up how to handle that, because we intend to clean the garden shed. Moving on to the greenhouse, we have been germinating our heirloom seeds. They are mainly tomatoes in the smaller pots, which we will be planting in the tomato greenhouse. And in the other side, he has already planted some chilies. He will be planting some aubergines. The seeds which we had from the aubergines didn't come, so we took the easier route and got a few aubergine plants from the garden center. It is a little bit difficult to film in this area here because there's not much space to put a tripod, so I try to film some parts of it freehand, and you can see the camera shake. This vegetable patch is below the cherry tree. Previously we used to plant garlic and sometimes broccoli. This year we will be planting some kohlrabi and some kale. These will be ready for harvest by the summer months. Kohlrabis are a little bit delicate. You'll have to harvest them earlier, otherwise they get very woody and you cannot really cook them. We got these compostable pots from the garden center so they can be planted directly into the soil. After that, we will be covering the tomato plants with the snail cap since we do still have some slugs in the garden. After the plants outgrow the slug cap, then it will be also a little bit stronger and we will not be needing this cap anymore. In the last video, you saw us planting potatoes and now they have grown a little bit in height. So it's time to earth them. We will be covering the potato plant with the soil. They will continue growing under the soil. Once they start to shoot up a little bit longer, we will be earthing them again till the plant kind of dies out, that it becomes yellow and it has finished flowering. In this patch we planted the earlies, so we can probably harvest them by end of June to July. We didn't plant these salads. They are from the previous year's seeds. This is from one of the salad beds which we had, and the seeds came from the previous year's plantings, because after a certain stage you cannot harvest the salad, they would be very bitter. We let them flower and they came on their own, so we just replant them in a different spot. With this, I end my video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye bye.